It doesn't seem to be doing anything. Is it doing anything on your side? Huh? Oh, there it is. All right. Hi, everyone. We're going to get started here in just a minute. If you're watching a recording, fast forward just about, 30 seconds before we get started. Just sort of getting everything set up and, screwing around. Because that's what we do, right? Let's see. I'm going to give Andy a minute to catch up and get his stuff all together before I start this part 2 of last week's Teeter Totter. All right, it's 1 o'clock. Let's get started. Hi, everyone. I'm Q Farm Gray. This is Q Talk Live, and I am simulcasting on 4 channels. We're on YouTube, Twitch TV, and Facebook on both my personal page and the Q Talk Facebook page. So if you're not on the Q Talk if you're not on the Q Talk page, do jump on over and join us over there. You'll get all of the schedules and what's happening in the upcoming Q Talk Lives. Or anything else that's going on, like our upcoming class at Beat Everything in White Plains, New York is going to be next Friday. We've got, I think, 6 classes scheduled for that. And registration is still open, and the class, there are still seats available in the classes, so you can definitely do some in-person stuff instead of all this virtual stuff, right? Because we are back in person in full force. So what else is happening? So today is Keep It Simple, part 2 of Teeter Totter. Yeah, it was a bit of a disaster last week as nothing really wanted to solder, and as I was cleaning things up today and picking up the pieces, it seems that they continue to want to fall apart. So what do? We just go back, reapproach, and see if we can get it to happen. So what did we do? Last week we cut 2 ovals out, and then we cut little slithers in them in different shapes and sizes, just to give it a little bit of depth. And then we started soldering them down, and I'm noticing here, we started soldering them down to the base, and I'm noticing, oops, it got bent somewhere along the line. So, I'm going to take this out before I do any more, and I am going to see if I can straighten this out just a little bit. Everything's really soft because it is copper, and I've been torching the heck out of it, torching and pickling the heck out of it. So, if you are just joining us, do go back to last week and see where I got started. So we're just going to finish this up this week. So it won't be too long to make this happen. So we numbered our pieces so we know which order to do it in. And of course, once I started torching it, that all went to pot. And I'm trying to put the pieces back. That said, I'm going to go ahead and put some solder along this center rod now as I put the pieces on. Then I don't have to take it apart again. I've already pickled this. and I have already brass brushed it, but not tremendously. It wasn't like a lot of work. You know what? Do you see that? My solder, I'm using solder paste, copper solder paste. It's not wanting to stick. So, I'm going to give it a little bit of heat. This is a tip here. If you're using solder paste and it doesn't want to stick, it's probably because it's wet. I did just take it out of the pickle and rinse it, so it's a little bit wet. We'll just put a little tiny bit of heat there and help the solder grab. So there it is. And some on here also. Okay. And then we'll put our pieces back on. So I already know that when I put this on last week, I created a problem for myself in that I did not space them out properly. That is for sure. So I had to readjust one of the pieces. We'll see what happens here. But I'm going to put a pin down and see if I can get this piece. Should be teetering to the left side here, but it doesn't want to stay. Let's see if I can get a pin in there and get it to stay. Thanks for the comment on the ring. This is the elevated ring. That's the Zoom class for September, and it'll be at the end of the month. So you can register for that class if you're interested in doing something a little bit different from what I normally do. Okay, so there's one. And I might only just put these 2 pieces on for now and then so that I can adjust the other piece accordingly. Let's see if I can get that to happen right there. See, it doesn't want to stay where I want it to stay. Actually, let's pin this here. It's running away from me. And notice how I'm hanging off the bail so that it doesn't lift my piece and make it even more awkward, right? Okay, there it is. And I'm going to put this pin right here. Oh, good. Ooh, of course not. This is a bit of tinkering to get it to happen. I did see a note that someone suggested putting this on pumice. Well, for me, putting it on pumice does not allow this to sit as level as I want it, because I want the backside to be really nice and flat and level. But pumice is a good way to go. It's not a bad way to go, that's for sure. Okay, there it is. I'm going to take out my solder pick, and I'm going to make sure, and I'm keeping my solder pick handy because I don't want it to flip, because as soon as I put heat on here, it's probably going to want to flip back and forth. So I'm going to put my solder pick on here just in case it wants to move, then I can move it right back, right? So always keep a tool in your hand. It'll help keep everything safe and keep you safe, and and it's nice and handy for your work there. But when you're using a torch, you always want to keep a tool in your opposite hand of the torch. My suggestion is always keep it in your less dominant hand. So, let's see if it did it. Because this is copper, I'm letting it set for a minute, okay? And you know, sometimes when soldering doesn't happen, you just need to step away from it and chill. Give it a minute. It just wants time. So, you know, last week I struggled to get this to happen. And it seems like this week it's going to be much easier. Okay, now that I said that, oh, let's see. Did it happen? Oh, yeah, that's a solid joint. Oh, good. Okay, I'll throw this into the pickle. And I can already see right now that my space here is too small for my piece. So I'm going to go ahead and trim this down now while that is in the pickle. All right. Take out your bezel shears and trim that. Like so. Yeah, it's just a slither of a piece anymore. Take out your file or maybe some sandpaper and file those edges or sand it down just a little bit. I know my edge is not so sharp, so I'm just going to use a little bit of sandpaper. Like so. Okay. And it's a little bit bent. You can put this on a bench block and hammer that flat, but it's so small. It's just a little tiny bit of bend. I'm just going to put it into my flat nose and flatten that, okay? So Titus officially ate my glasses. It's dead. And so today I'm using readers, and you know, it's funny because I usually have my lighting so that you can't see it in my glasses. It's very interesting. These readers have blue blockers in them, so they're so reflective. It's funny. I didn't notice it till I sat down. It's like, oh, okay, that's sort of weird, but it is what it is. For now, I know. He's already killed 2 pairs of glasses. I should not leave it out where he can get to it. I got it. Oh, it's still new. This puppy thing. All right, so there's my piece. You can see it sort of teeter-totters back and forth. Okay. So I don't know if any of you have noticed, but I did post a second class to this, or a second live for this next week called Teeter Tottering, because during our Zoom last week, somebody mentioned, oh, when I saw teeter totter, I was thinking that there would be movement, that it wouldn't be a static piece. Well, I never really thought about it until then. I went, huh, I think we should make one that goes back and forth. So it's going to be a version of this that moves. Let's see if it works. Okay, again, it's wet, so I'm just going to heat it just gently and get that dried up. Put a bit of solder down. And let's see if I can squeeze this piece in. Just go in. Please just go in. Oh, come on. Ouch. The only hazard of heating this stuff, okay, it's not going to go in, of heating your piece is it gets hot. And it's hard to manage. So just be careful if you're doing that. I'm going to trim this just a little bit more. So the only other thing I could have done here was I could have reverse soldered it and then trimmed it all and moved it all down, but you know, this was the easier way to go. Okay, let's come in a little bit closer. You can see what's going on. You see, it just doesn't want to fit the way I want it to fit. Oy, oy, oy. I know, how much smaller am I going to get this piece, right? Looks like it should fit. Okay, so what I'm going to do, because you can't see it on the bottom side, is I'm going to go ahead and trim it there, but you can see it sticking out. Or not trim it there, but solder it there. But you can see it sticking out. I'm just going to do a little bit of retrofitting, I guess. And we're going to cut that off when it's done. Okay, there it is. And I'll use my pick to hold it down. So notice I'm also heating under it just to get the other parts hot, right? And it's sort of challenging here to get under it. Well, I have all these pins going all over the place. Wait, did you see that? It teetered right back over. I'm gonna put it down again and make sure that flows. And we're gonna hold it there while it's setting and give it a minute. Okay. Deep breath. All right. Oh, it's on. It's not great, but it's on. Okay, so actually, I'm going to go ahead and pickle this one more time, put some solder in there, and do it one more time. Just because I want this to be a really solid joint, because I'm going to be trimming on it. As soon as I trim it, I know it's going to break off. So always take the time. Just, you know, when I've seen students who go, oh, it's good enough. Like, no, it's not good enough, because the deal is once you start wearing it, it's going to break. So you want things to break while you are still working on it, right? And you want to test all of your joints before you send it out the door and give it to someone. I mean, how embarrassing would that be to give someone a piece that falls apart, or to sell someone a piece that falls apart? Not good. So you want to make sure that you test all those pieces before you send it out the door, before you put a bow on it. Okay. Let's see. So at this point, what I'm going to do is I am going to put this into my pumice, right? because it'll hold it in place. And I could just put my heat right there where I want it. And everything should stay in place. But this is also a nice, hopefully, nice bird's eye view for you to see that my pieces go back and forth. So I just heat it, get it dry, so I can place, just for insurance, a little bit more solder right there. And because it's copper, I can hold it right there, but I'm just going to heat everything just to get it dry. There it is. Okay. I saw it flow. Did you guys see it flow? I know it's a teeny weeny spot right in there. Give it a minute to set because it is copper. Quench. Let's check it. Oh, yeah. All pieces are nice and solid. We'll throw that back in the pickle. So we'll pickle it, trim it, and clean it up. So for next week's Teeter Tottering, or Teetering Totter, which way should that go? Anyway, we'll make it a little bit differently so that the pieces are not soldered to the center, but that they have, they'll have a mechanism inside so that it moves, right? It'll be fun. It'll be lots of fun. So what else is going on? Friday we have a Zoom along. I'll post the link tonight. So for those of you who are watching or was at Beat Fest a couple weeks ago, if you have questions about your class, it's a great time to pop in and ask questions and work along with us. You know, working alone at home is never fun. It's more fun to be working with other people, like-minded people, right? So that's what we'll be doing. And I will be, what am I working on? I will be working on future projects. Maybe... So Elevated will more than likely be a 3-part series. So there'll be earrings and pendants to go with this, but a slightly different twist on it each time. So there it is. All right, let's check on our piece. Out of the pickle. That makes me happy. Let's dry that. Okay, so the piece is sort of hanging out over here. I'm going to trim it just a little bit and get a little bit more uniform. Is anybody else sticking out? You see, so it's nice. Oops, so it's continuous, you see there? Take out a file or a sanding stick. This isn't... I'm glad you like the ring. Okay, so it is slightly off on this side, so we can trim that a little bit too. Like so. Oh yeah, much better. All right, so now, you know, I think a brass brush is nice here, but I'm feeling like I want to use a brass end brush on a flex shaft because I think I can be a little bit more gentle on this. Yeah. So I don't have to press as hard and it does a better job of it for me. There we go. So really when you're doing your finishing, just like when you're soldering, you have to consider what the piece wants, right? Not every technique can be used on every piece. You think it's the same, but is it? Not really. It's all a little bit different. Okay, let's go ahead and clean the back too. And what's nice is, see this piece, you can go right in between and clean that out too. Just like that, in between all the pieces. Be gentle with this, take your time. These pieces are a bit delicate. And of course, you don't have to shine it up like I am. It is a design choice. And you can go ahead and patina this if you want to bring out those textures. So now I'm going to see if I can work it in the grooves a little bit better. And you can start to see the brass come up. Yes, there's copper oxides on the surface of the brass sheet, because what is brass made of? It's made of copper and zinc. And that is the reason why it turns pink. So you got to sort of work it a little bit. You know, I forgot to trim this piece off, so I'm going to trim it right now. So we'll trim off the end, just like so. We'll take out some sandpaper. I'm using all of my old nail files at this point to do this. Use what you have, right? There it is. You can see the brass a little bit come up there. Gonna hit this a little bit more. And I think I'm gonna switch out. Actually, I wonder if I use an end brush like so. A brass end brush or scratch brush, see if I can get a little bit more into those areas. Question? So the question is, what patina would you use for the copper and brass? I would just use liver of sulfur. Warm liver of sulfur should do it. And actually, since I'm finishing this so quickly today, you know, I was really like praying that the soldering would go well. And when it didn't go well, that first try, I was like starting to worry. But we can go ahead. Let me see if I have some here. Yeah, let me heat up some liver of sulfur, and let's take a look and see what happens. All right, give me a second. I'm gonna throw this into the microwave. Let's see. Okay, microwave on. Liver of sulfur pulled out. Okay, so while that's heating up, I'm going to continue to try to finish this. And you know, because it's textured, it's really hard to get into all the little nooks and crannies. So you got to sort of just keep working it till you get there. Use what you have. I think I'm going to change this out again and see if a silicone wheel is not a little bit more aggressive. But the brush worked really nicely to begin with. I want a little bit more brass out of this. Okay. You know, the sad part is I don't remember if it was all brass. I think some of this was copper. I know. It's sort of like, you know, photoshopping, and you're trying to Photoshop that dirty spot off your screen. Yeah, then they've done that. I'm like, am I sitting here trying to take the copper off the copper? Oh. I think that is a brass piece right there. So the checkers is brass. Yeah, nice. Yeah, it's definitely coming up a little bit better. Do you see that? You see the difference there? Thanks for noticing the Band-Aid. Yes, you see a Band-Aid. I was attacked by a screwdriver yesterday. So you know how you're supposed to use a screwdriver to open up a can of spray paint? Well, I slipped. And yeah, there was a bit of blood. I lost a chunk. It'll grow back, right? Okay, almost done. I know, I'm taking way too much time here. But when I start finishing and doing finishing work, I sort of can't help myself. I just sort of keep going and going and going. And so I'm happy. Hello, Renee. So now I'm going to go ahead, you know, the silicone sort of got schmutz all over my piece, so I'm going to go ahead and go back to that brass brush and brush this back again. Okay. And so I'm hoping that the brass brush will make quick work of this. Yeah, it is. Perfect. And it's taking off all the dirt from the silicone brush. Yeah, nice. Loving it. You know, I love that my brush is making quick work of this, but remember, finishing is never quick work, right? You want to take your time when you're doing finishing, because it'll pay to take the time. All right, let's grab this warm water out. So I see you guys have been following my Facebook. Yes, I found mushrooms. They were coral mushrooms. It's the first time I've ever had coral mushrooms. And if you're not knowing what I'm saying, go back on my personal page. You'll see I posted pictures of the coral mushroom. And they were wonderful. It's the first time I've ever had coral mushroom. And I saw it and I was thinking, you know, I think those are edible. So I looked it up and verified that they indeed were edible, and how to identify the ones that weren't edible. It's very distinct. If they're growing on the ground, you don't eat them. If they're growing off a dead tree, then you can eat coral mushroom. So that said, I went back for them and got like 3 pounds. I filled up my backpack with them, and they, I think, are so much better than morels. And then today, I saw this mushroom that was like, I think those are edible too. And I literally just looked it up before I came live today. It's called chicken of the woods. I'm going to have to go back later with Titus and pick that up too, because apparently those are very edible and they taste like lemon chicken, which is hilarious. So there are these orange mushrooms that grow off the bottom of trees. Okay, so here we are. Not to be mistaken with the fake chanterelles, because I know what those look like. In any case, they look almost like turkey tail, if any of you guys are familiar with it. It's very common up here in the northeast, turkey tail. Okay. Well, I put it in liver sulfur, and that's what I got. No great colors, so we're going to clean it back again. Andy says that chicken of the woods mushrooms is being sold on Amazon and Etsy. That's crazy. There wasn't enough honey to make a sale out of it, but okay. Enough for one meal. But they're very distinctive, and they're these bright orange mushrooms, so I'm excited for that. You know, I don't know if I love this. Okay, this coloring here. So let's clean most of it off. I think I liked it bright and brassy and coppery. So I'll clean most of it off, see what happens. clean up on the back side. Like so. It's prettier in person, I have to say, than it is on camera as I'm watching the camera here. Andy says he likes it brighter. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm gonna put the silicone wheel back onto this and see what happens, because also the coloring is giving the recesses a little bit more depth, which is nice, but it's all in what you like. I mean, there's no steadfast rules to patina, right? And the truth is, in the end, it's still going to patina, like it or not. It's metal. All metal oxidizes over time. It's just a matter of time. Okay, so I love this silicone wheel. It's really making nice work with this. And if you notice, the flowers on my alternating pieces are coming up so nice and bright. And it makes me feel good. I love texture plate. I love textured metal. I don't like hammered metal, but I like even patterns, like so, as opposed to organic patterns. That's my design aesthetic. This flower pattern is one of my faves. Okay, we're just about there. All right, one more hit with the brass brush, and I think we are just about done. Any questions, do shout out. Andy is relaying all your questions and comments. Not all the comments, but all the questions at least to me. He doesn't tell me who's asking, so I don't know. So when I talk to you, don't say I asked that question. Like, I don't know. But I do get your questions relayed. Look at that. How nice and clean. And then, of course, I'm going to put this under some water and brush it off nicely. There it is. Teeter Totter. See, sort of lots of movement back and forth. Oh, you can't really see that, but oh, there it is. Like so. It says, ooh. Sorry, dropped my flexion. All right, well, I hope you learned a little something. I hope you liked it. I learned a little something based on your comments last week. You know, it's sort of hard when I'm sitting here just working by myself and just processing through things. Sometimes I overthink it and I make it harder than it should be. But that's what you guys are here for. You call me out on it and tell me a better way to do it. So that was really great on this piece to hear all the comments and a better way of doing that. But I hope you enjoyed that. Do like and share the videos. We really appreciate it for the algorithm. I'll be back on, not Monday, I'll be back next Wednesday for Teetering Totter or Tottering or Teeter Tottering, whatever. That would be a second version of this. And then we'll have a Zoom along on Friday. Monday, we're taking off for Labor Day. So I hope everybody enjoys their long weekend. Until then, have a great week and we'll see you. Oh, and don't forget, VEC is Virtually Ever Crafting is still under registration. You can find a last chance coupon on, where is it? On the Virtually Ever Crafting community page. It has been posted there. And you can also find it on my Q Talk Facebook page. I believe I posted it there too. One last question before I go. So the question is, couldn't I pickle again if I wanted to remove the liver of sulfur? Yes, I could have pickled this again to remove the liver of sulfur. However, it would remove it from everything. And what I decided that was that I wanted the lines to be a little bit more distinctive, the recesses to be a little bit more distinctive. So I decided not to re-pickle it. So that was the choice I ended up making on this piece. So, but if you do pickle it again, you're going to have to start all over again with the cleaning process. By the way, if for some reason, last tip here before I go, okay, so if for some reason the pickle didn't quite do the job that you were looking for, rinse it really well, torch it again, and sort of create another layer of fire scale. This is how I do it. And it removes everything, and it totally brings you back to absolute beginning. So torch it again, bring up a little bit of fire scale, quench it, and then pickle it again, and it'll get it clean, clean, clean. So that's my little trick for the day. I hope that was good for you. Thanks for asking all your questions and participating, everyone. Really appreciate it. Go enjoy the day. At least it's beautiful outside here. Hopefully it's beautiful outside where you are. All right, we'll see you on